Hey everyone, welcome in a new episode of Steven's Week, your weekly update on marketing and technology. This week I'm going to talk about the significance of the financial results of Shopify. I'm going to talk about what happened with the robot dog in New York. I'm going to talk about how Zoom is bringing new immersive experiences and much more. Please enjoy this new episode, everyone. This week, Zoom announced that they will launch their immersive view option. Most of us have Zoom fatigue or Teams fatigue. We all long for three-dimensional meetings. But in the meantime, Zoom wants to upgrade to two-dimensional meetings. And what they want to do is they want to create settings that remind us to how it was to meet up in the real world. What they want to do is, for instance, if you have a meeting with 5 or 6 people, they want to mimic a boardroom. If you have a larger audience, let's say 25 people, and they're listening to a keynote presentation, they want to mimic an auditorium so that you see all the faces and that it feels like people are sitting in an auditorium. When you see these images, we all see that they're kind of cartoon-like somehow, so it's not the real thing. And it's the same feeling that I have when I see these experiments with virtual reality meetings. They also feel a little bit cartoon-like. It's nothing like a meeting in 3 dimensions, but it's an in-between step. It's an in-between step to make the experience more fun, more engaging, to make sure that people like to spend time in these digital meetings. But I'm convinced at the end of the day, when virtual meetings really become what they should become, we're going to have 3-dimensional settings where it's going to be almost exactly like we are together, but we're in a virtual space. And at that moment, it's going to be a completely different experience. It's going to be totally immersive. But for now, we have the in-between step from Zoom. About a year ago, Amazon started with their in-garage delivery service, but then it was an experiment. This week, they announced that they will go one step further and they're gonna roll out this in-garage delivery service. In every city in the United States where they sell groceries, in store or online, they're gonna offer you the opportunity to let the groceries be delivered in your garage. And this is an important service for many people because if people want to order groceries online, there are a number of things that are important. First of all, of course, the online interface has to be perfect. It has to take less effort to order online than to go to a store. So that part is, of course, something that Amazon has under control. They're good at that. And in the last couple of years, since they basically started with offline retail, that was when they acquired Whole Foods, remember? That was 2017. Since that moment, they've been working on that interface and making it easier and easier to order your groceries through mobile phones and through websites. But then you have the other part of the equation, and that is the delivery. And a lot of people are worried about that because imagine that your groceries are being delivered and you're not at home. Many people are worried. Is the cat from the neighbors, is it going to eat my groceries? Or maybe it's warm and my food will go bad or birds will jump on top of it. Many people are concerned. So an in-house delivery service is something that a lot of people value. Walmart has an in-fridge delivery experiment. But not everyone is as excited to think about the fact that someone else is in your fridge. So the in-garage delivery is solving the issue. People are no longer concerned that something bad will happen with their food. And it's an in-house delivery that seems to be mentally acceptable for customers. The fact that they just open the garage door and something is being put on the floor is easier to accept than having someone walk through your entire home and put stuff in your refrigerator. And now Amazon rolls this out in 5,000 cities as a service to solve that. So they've been working on both sides of the story. The interface is up to speed. Delivery, they have now a problem for the mental issues that many customers have with grocery deliveries. Shopify shared their financial results this week. And Shopify is a Canadian company. It's the largest, or at least the most valuable Canadian company. And it's the largest e-commerce platform in the world. They offer their service to many, many companies and entrepreneurs and store owners to make sure that people can, in an easy way, sell their products through the internet. That is what Shopify does. the stock has exploded in the past couple of years because of the success of their rollout. So this week they came with results, and as always, the market has very high expectations towards Spotify, but again, they crushed the expectations. They had a growth of 110% compared to the first quarter of last year. And it's important, these results, not just that Shopify is growing so rapidly, that's good for them, but it's an important signal because they also see this rapid growth in markets where stores had reopened during this first quarter. So one of the conclusions is that even though if stores reopen, that the level of e-commerce that people use will remain high. It will remain a lot higher than before what happened in the last 14 months. We all know that in the first lockdown, in the first 10 weeks of this whole situation, e-commerce grew faster than in the 10 years before that. Well, we're still at a higher level than we were before the whole thing started. And that's an interesting fact. And it's not the first time that we see a signal like this. McKinsey, they published a report a couple of weeks ago in which they said 80% of the people who discovered e-commerce in the past year is gonna keep on using it because they're convinced about the benefits. So 80% of the people is sticking to e-commerce. So the growth of these platforms is substantial, and the change in customer behavior is something that is here to stay. In the last couple of weeks, the New York Police Department, the NYPD, started with an experiment with a robot. They had Spot from Boston Dynamics. It looks a little bit cool. It looks very cool. It's like a robot that looks like a dog, and they use that to find explosives and to do all kind of dangerous things with. But until recently, more and more police departments are also relying on this robot dog, on Spot. They've been using it in Singapore in parks to make sure that people were following the rules that they had in that society. But now they had it in New York. But after 2 weeks, they decided to stop with the project. And that is because the customers, the citizens of New York, they complained. They had the feeling that this was like an over-aggressive approach to maintain public safety in this city. And the problem is, of course, that as a human, as a customer, you cannot talk to that dog. That dog is just talking to you. And of course, you can say you can have a conversation through a microphone, but believe me, and I don't need to convince you, if you talk to a robot dog, it's kind of different than talking to a human police officer. And it's very clear that the customer, the citizens of New York, they want to talk to a human police officer. If something is going on, if they're insecure, if they do something wrong on purpose or by accident, they like to have a human-to-human conversation. There's always a little bit of stress when you have a conversation with a police officer, and at that moment, you do not want to talk to a robot, you want to talk to a human. So this is interesting because it shows the psychology behind all this, and that it's not going to be so easy to replace every human by a robot, especially in those emotionally intense moments. And because of that, they're gonna stick to humans. And I would say it's a good decision. It's too bad for Spot, but I'm sure Spot will find other applications where he can bring value. But it's not going to be in the New York Police Department for now. So guys, this was my weekly update. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like the video if you did, share it with everyone you know, subscribe to my channel if you didn't do so, and I hope to see you again next week for a new episode of Steven's Week. Take care and have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.